Welcome back, Truth Seeker. Reportedly, record flooding in Toronto happened yesterday, Tuesday, July 16th, 2024. And with a lot of that news coverage, they're focused on the rapper Drake, who lives in Toronto, whose house was flooded, and he posted about it to social media. And again, want to talk about something that really the whole world should be talking about at this point, based on all that we've proven about this same super repetitive pattern and code when it comes to weather warfare. We're going to talk about this in relation to Justin Trudeau, the Prime Minister of Canada, first. And then we're going to talk about how perfect this is with Drake the rapper. Jonathan might want to even get this in his book, 38 Special. And if you're new here, you know what? If you're new here, I've been talking about this for a long time. Vice News made an article making fun of me in 2017 about this exact topic that I'm going to talk to you about in the exact same way. Again, if you want to check out this article, pause the video, you're watching this later, and read this article, and then come back and read what I'm going to talk about. You're going to see how it's the exact same lesson. But this was the nicely written article by Vice News about me from November 20th, 2017. Would have been Joe Biden's 75th birthday, funny enough. Wacko YouTuber approves World Series was rigged. And what he makes fun of is how I wrote about weather warfare and the number 52 and what happened with the flooding of Harvey in Texas, and then what happened with the World Series 52 days after Harvey was the first pitcher to pitch in Houston after the flooding of Harvey, as in Matt Harvey. And again, we were talking about this way before 2017. I've been talking about this for a decade now. And again, the number is 52 when it comes to weather warfare. The first act of weather warfare in the world admitted to is the Lynmouth flood from 1952. It happened on August 15th, the Jesuit order's birthday. Lyndon Johnson once said at Jesuit Holy Cross, who controls the weather controls the world. Of course, Justin Trudeau, like his father, who have both been prime ministers in Canada, they're Jesuit educated, just like Biden's Jesuit educated, Trump's Jesuit educated. A lot of these people in high places are. Gavin Newsom was in the conversation, Jesuit educated. Only 27 Jesuit universities in the U.S. out of thousands of universities, yet so many people in high places are in this Jesuit network, the same one the founders were warning about, who warned of enemies, foreign and domestic, because the Catholic Church and the Jesuits, well known in that historical time period for being infiltrators. But anyway, notice how in Gematria, Justin Trudeau equates to 168. He's 52 right now, the magic age, which we're going to come back to. We're going to get back to why it matters again that so much that he's 52. But this crazy flood in Toronto happens on the day leaving 168 days left in the year. Again, if you're new here, this is the Kabbalistic practice of coding numbers into words, something that goes back to Babylon, where there's this belief system about a god, Enlil, the god of flooding. In Gematria, this Kabbalistic practice of coding numbers into words, flood equals 52. So does Earth. So does Enlil. So does Devil. Funny enough, so does Pope. And we're on a 52-week calendar named after the Pope. And people have warned for years, the Pope is the living Antichrist. The Pope represents the beast. Again, the Jesuits serve the Catholic Church. So Trudeau has that perfect Christmas birthday. That's the day the Catholic Church began worshiping the sun in the sky in the year 274 AD. Come back to that. And then they began celebrating Jesus' birthday on that same day, 46 years later, 320 AD. And then that's when it was first done, was 320 AD, but it didn't really catch on within the Catholic Church until still decades after that. But of course, it was 46 years later, and Catholic has that gematria of 46, like what they did to JFK at 46. And then Joe Biden, the second Catholic, elected number 46, 46 weeks after the Pope's birthday, the first Jesuit Pope. But anyway, Trudeau, 52, and this crazy flood is on a day that just has a nice little connection in his name. And we'll get to the days from his birthday as well. But yes, 52, it's a number that connects over and over with bizarre weather warfare, or it's things like this. It's synced perfectly with the nation of a leader who's 52 at the time. I mean, we've been talking about the same stuff over and over for a decade. And remember, 52 is no slouch of a number. 52 cards in the deck, 52 weeks in the year. Words like government and authority equal 52. Here in the U.S., president equals 52, White House 52. Words like hurricane and flood equal 52. Again, this hurricane barrel that did this as it moved up into Canada, remember, it's been 52 the whole way. It ransacked that island that got the worst of it on the 52 date numerology to start the month. July 1st, 2024 had the 52 date numerology. But again, 52, number of weather warfare, number of authority, number of the Pope, the Catholic Church, who the Jesuits serve, where this whole history goes back to, again, the first admitted act was by the Royal Air Force, 1952, August 15th. August 15th is the Jesuit order's birthday. And again, Lyndon Johnson did say, who controls the weather, controls the world at Jesuit Holy Cross, university where Fauci went. That's a whole nother subject. But yeah, we're all other words with 52. Kabbalah equals 52. Gematria equals 52. That's this practice of coding numbers into words. And being aware of this, you can see this highly redundant pattern. So the question becomes, is this all technology? Technology is another 52 word. I've always talked about the importance of major technology rituals in 52 as well. Essentially, if this is weather warfare, this is military technology. In plain sight, you can see it being done when you're aware of this code. Because it's like, look at this stuff. It's always just something so crazy, unprecedented, super devastating in the same damn number. But again, devil's another one of those 52 words. The devil's in the details. If you write out the book of the law and use the larger cipher, it's 239, the 52nd prime. We've also talked about that because book of the law, the small way, just like hurricane, government authority, all those 52. The big way, the book of the law. The book of the law is the Torah, where the biblical story of the flood is. And we'll come back to that. But yeah, just the most simple ciphers. Flood and little earth. 52. Small way, hurricane, 52. Always talking about this exact same thing. Now, we're going to hit more on that, but I want you to see this about Drake. This is the hurricane barrel system, right? And Drake's full name is Aubrey Drake Graham. Notice the gematria of his name and barrel with the big way and small way, 159.78. And remember, Hurricane Barrel formed in a 78 ritual and made landfall on the U.S. on July 8th, 2024, 8 days before this happened, on the 16th. But when Barrel made landfall on the U.S., remember, that was 239 days after the Superior General's birthday, the 52nd prime number. And what Vice News was making fun of me for, just to read this has been making fun of what I was saying about the flooding of Harvey and the World Series. And we were writing about these things before, the World Series came. But they quoted me from what they were making fun of what I'd said. The reason that matters is because the word flood in gematria equals 52. Houston flooded on a date with 52 numerology. It was August 27th, 17, 8 plus 27 plus 17, 52. On August 27th, which was the 239th day of the year, which is the 52nd prime number. It was 27 years to the day of the death of Stevie Ray Vaughan, who is remembered for the album Texas Flood. Think about it. So they make fun of that, right? Like they're associating with these thoughts with a wacko, just like it says, wacko YouTuber approves world was rigged. And the big lead, who's the USA Today, they wrote this article about me in 2016. Conspiracy theorist proves Freemasons rigged AFC and NFC championship games. Totally disingenuous title, because what the work was about was our call in October of that season for why the Broncos would beat the Panthers, Von Miller would be the MVP, and there'd be a Black Panther tribute in the game where we went 3 for 3 on all those things, and realized defensive MVPs are pretty rare in the Super Bowl. But we knew it'd be Von Miller that year, drafted one pick after Cam Newton, who wore 58 when Cam Newton became the 58th quarterback to start in the Super Bowl, and Huey P. Newton equals 58, who founded the Black Panthers. Cam Newton, Huey P. Newton. Huey P. Newton did it in the Bay Area when the first Super Bowl season was underway. Cam Newton was born the year Huey P. Newton died, plus a lot more to it. But that's what we'd shown that year. So for this to be the hit piece the week before the Super Bowl, again, it didn't get into how we'd been talking about this since October. They try to use one thing in the article. I'd made the point the week before the Super Bowl about the time this article was written. It was like they were watching and looking for a way to like, oh, see? I made a point in a video. I said my dad was saying I was nuts the week prior because he thought there was no way that Peyton Manning was going to beat Tom Brady in the AFC Championship. He was saying I was out of my mind. And I was telling him, see, my dad's totally changed his tune. Now he listens to me and he realizes he still likes to watch it. I can't get him to stop watching the damn games. But he doesn't get as emotionally tied into it as he used to, which is a big thing to not be having a heart attack over these bullshit ass games. But it was really this game right here is what really changed my dad's tune, because he was totally disinterested in what I'd been doing the last few years and just thought like I should be doing better things with my time. And then when he saw this land, and then a whole bunch of things landed. Remember, you guys, 2016, we called every sports championship dead on. Sadly, even Prince's death. But this was the thing that got my dad on board, and he's always thought it was interesting ever since. Because he realized, I mean, if it wasn't rigged, how's Peyton Manning throwing wounded ducks? Remember his first pass of Super Bowl 50, where he beat the Panthers. Remember, the team from the 38th state won on the 38th day of the year. Gold equals 38. Like, there's gold up in them mountains in Colorado, and that was the golden anniversary, and it was in the 49ers Stadium in Jesuit, Santa Clara, named after the 49ers, named after the gold rush. A big number to the Jesuits is 18. 18, it represents the meaning of life in Jewish numerology, and the Jesuits are a Catholic Jewish alliance, and IHS, the Jesuit acronym, equals 18, like the word sun. Their logo is the sun with the letters IHS for Jesus Hominum Salvator. Peyton Manning in his 18th season rode off into the sunset, playing in Jesuit Santa Clara, where they killed the Smash Mouth singer by the numbers right before the 49ers NFC Championship season began with the Smash Mouth defense. We covered that before the season even began. I was all connected. But remember Peyton Manning's first pass of that Super Bowl, 18th season, number 18, a wounded duck, which means a wobbly, shitty-looking pass, to a wide-open number 81, his tight end for an 18-yard gain. I mean, I think they were already saying, whoa, they couldn't have scripted that any better. Looks like it could be a Hollywood finish for Peyton. Where are you guys going? You're going to Disneyland? I mean, it's just the same shit every year, and everyone's just like, I'm coming back for more. 3 of their favorite players just died in the last week. Coincidentally, it must be because it's cold that time of year and these old people just can't hold up. But sometimes they're not old people. Sometimes it's like an Indianapolis Colt, age 24, ran over because apparently he was trying to cross the highway the early morning before the Super Bowl. Remember that story a few years back? The Indianapolis Colt got ran over in the freeway early hours before the Super Bowl. It's like, oh, that doesn't seem weird to anyone. NFL player just got ran over in the freeway. I mean, how many times in your life do you know anyone who's played in the freeway? My mom used to always go tell me to run on the highway when she's mad at me, but I don't know anybody who did it, you know? So, anyway, yeah, we've been all over this 78 thing with Hurricane Beryl, and again, Jesuit equals 78, and Order Out of Chaos is 78, and again, you look up who really, again, everyone blames the Federal Reserve on Jews. Again, the Jesuits are a Catholic Jewish element, but you got to look at who's really running the show. The Jesuit logo has the Templar cross in it. The Templars are the original bankers of this world, okay? The Catholic Church has the original banking roots. Mussolini made the Vatican an independent city-state in the 1920s, and it's had its own central bank like the Federal Reserve ever since. You don't think they have a big... I don't even want to get into these things. The point I'm making is if bankers do run the world, and they do, because we're all paying debt and interest to them. They're living on our dime. Everything we do breeds money for them. Every day we work, they make money off it. Every time we buy something, they make money off it. You make us, I mean, we just know how there's taxes on taxes on taxes. This banker, government, financial cabal is what owns this world. But who invented that system? Same people who gave you the calendar. Are Jews a part of that media banking powerhouse? Yeah, but so are other people in the world. But yes, there is a major Catholic Jewish element, and that's why they pay tribute to the Jewish Old Testament on all these rituals. But people need to understand who is really doing this and who's running the show. Why did the Mega 78 ritual just happen to Trump in 78 County in Butler 78 days after Melania Trump's birthday, when he just had the big 78 trial with Stormy Daniels? And we've been talking about how important it's going to be when Trump turns 78 years old, because there's 78 cards in the tarot deck, and the top cards are Trump cards. And on and on and on and on. I mean, we've been talking about the meaning of these numbers. I'm talking about Trump right now in Butler. Butler's 78 town with all these 78s on it. You heard BlackRock had to pull the ad for the shooter. BlackRock's got that 78 connection. Friends with Klaus Schwab, the Jesuit who runs the World Economic Forum. They're the big partnership. But if you missed my work on the Trump thing, That shooting of Trump, Donald Trump equals 159, by the way, and he is 78. But Donald Trump, the supposed near assassination, total staged Hollywood crap, right where he comes from, paying tribute to Reagan staged Hollywood crap by the same code who also came from Hollywood. But Donald Trump equals 159, and that shooting came just days after the Secret Service officially turned 159 years old. These numbers mean something. Scottish Rite equates to 159 and 78. That's the most Jewish branch of Freemasonry. But again, Freemasonry is Judaism for the Gentile because it's based in the Old Testament. It's based in Kabbalah, which is historically Jewish, going back to Babylon, the home of the Jews. Somebody was scolding me in the comments saying, Khazaria is not the home of the Jews. They go all the way back to Babylon. Okay. I'm just saying they used to have, there used to be like a predominantly Jewish country called Khazaria, which is where the war is with Russia and Ukraine. People get mad about all these little things we point out. Again, I'm always trying to just show a true mold of the power structure of the world and how they operate and how sophisticated they are. Again, a lot of comic people come across and say, no person could ever do this. I just hate listening to that crap. Do you guys sit around and watch these TV shows that are scripted out and planned out? Start paying attention to your TV shows in this code, you'll start seeing that the plot lines in the story are encoded this same way. Again, there are people who are aware of this knowledge and who use this knowledge. Again, all the ancient mystery religions tie in. Hermeticism, everything carries a vibration. You're either the person being manipulated by these vibrations, or you're the person using the vibrations to have influence over others, to gain power and control. There's a reason they do this day after day by the same numbers, paying tribute to these ideas that do go all the way back to Babylon. If you've heard the Catholic Church is the whore of Babylon, isn't it funny how Catholic literally equals whore of Babylon, which is 71, which is a number of the Sanhedrin. It's like the most important number in regards to the Sanhedrin, which was a powerful Jewish structure mentioned in the Old Testament. If there was a 35-35 tie with the Sanhedrin, the person who was the boss, the 71st, would come in and be the deciding vote. And then there's also a 72nd person in the Sanhedrin who's like another rare power authority who's rarely needed, but in case that 71st wasn't available, then they're like the vice president, if you will. And again, 70, 71, 72. Remember, Vatican is 70, like Francis. The first Jesuit Pope, Pope Francis, when the Jesuits are from France. Remember how they did the World Cup? France fell to 2-2 at the end of 22 when there's 22 men on the field, losing to Argentina, where the Pope's from, and the first ever World Cup championship played the day after in December, but it was the day after the Pope's birthday. And he just turned 86, and Argentina hadn't won it since 86. And this year, the Copa America Cup, I didn't even look at what happened in the championship, but I saw that Argentina was in it on Bastille Day, France's birthday, and I thought, oh, how perfect. Argentina and France again, and people don't even see the joke. Rigged sports, rigged weather, Jesuit, Catholic, cabal system, in effect, all roads lead to Rome. So let's do this. There's a lot to say about this. I want to take it from the top because there's way more here. And I'm even going to get into how Drake means duck, and ducks are amphibious, land and water, like his home on lands underwater, synced up with his rap beef with Kendrick Lamar, whose last name is Duckworth. Again, a Drake is a duck. So there's a little joke in that too, which we're going to get to in the day this flooding happened. But realize the media is making a big focus today on July 17th, a day just full of Jesuit ritual year after year as we cover. But today, the day after the Toronto flood, where water's still in places it shouldn't be, Drake's house being focused on underwater. Think about it, 17/7, how the majority of the world writes today, as we've talked about so many times. The Jesuit order and weather control have perfect overlap in 3 out of the 4 ciphers. And this might sound crazy right now, but remember, Kobe Bryant, whose father died the day of this flood, Kobe had his career high January 22nd, 2006 versus Toronto, scoring 81 in his 666th game. There's a lot to say about it, but we're going to get to how... Remember when Toronto won their only championship the other year? It was shortly before Kobe died, because that was they won it June 13th, the day leaving 201 days left in the year 2019. and then Kobe died that following January. But that year that Toronto won the championship, they won it in Game 6. Drake calls Toronto the Six. We'll get to why again. But that year they got Kawhi Leonard on the day that Drake put out that album that supposedly broke all the Beatles records. Again, just how they sync all this stuff up. I'm going to get to how the date of that championship, the day they won it, the day leaving 201 days left in the year. Not to mention that same finals began on the 150th day of the year, May 30th. The biblical flood ends after 150 days. You see how the Jesuit order and weather control are both 69? The flood is in Genesis 6 through 9. Genesis 6 through 9 is the biblical flood. Remember when we talked about flood equals 52 like Earth, like Enlil, when you run it in reverse, they all equal 83. The last day of the flood is in Genesis 8:3 after 150 days. But yeah, we're going to get to how this is perfectly synced with the finals, the day they ended, and also in light of how they began. See, I understand explaining this stuff to people. Like most people just can't even get the most simple thing. They can't even see through the obvious lie of the Trump staged photo op. Narrowly, people can't even see through that. I mean, you got to be almost brain dead to not see through it. Or just, you really just got to be barely above brain dead to see through it. It's the right way to phrase that. This stuff takes a little IQ, and I just don't know how many people have it. You know, it's funny. Yesterday, a guy who runs a show out of Canada actually hung up on me and said that all this number stuff is just so easily coincidental, and you can just make it all line up so easily, and that's why it's all just means nothing. As you know, I'm pretty sure he lives near the Toronto area too, and again, it's just like, what a moron. You know, again, this is the same guy who said 1 × 1 = 2. And thinks the earth is flat. But anyway, that's why you need some IQ points to appreciate my work, to see how undeniable it is. If you're on a flat earth, 1 × 1 is really 2 level. Maybe it's pretty obvious why you can't comprehend what's undeniable. Don't forget the Holy Bible equals 201. Don't forget the Superior General 75. Don't forget the massive ritual they did in Dubai this year with these same numbers. We talk about them all the time. You know, Captain Tom, knighted by the Queen, 17/7, dead 201 days later from the virus that was simulated by the Jesuits with Event 201 by Klaus Schwab, whose name equals 177. Then the Queen dies 201 days after her cooties diagnosis, when corona means crown. And like we said from the beginning, this story is going to lead to the royal family. And we talked about why the Queen was going to die at 96, where it all fit in. We've been ahead of this stuff since way before it unfolded. Again and again, talking about the same stuff month after month. Only mental midgets aren't getting it. And you mental midgets are the problem, because man should be smart enough to understand what I'm saying and help spread the word so that these governments and this Jesuit cabal that mocks us every day can be shut down. You know, they've been doing the same thing in California, synced with Jesuit Gavin Newsom. Same things all over the place. Over and over, getting away with it. So, yeah, here we are on 17/7, and this is getting a lot of attention in the media today. Kobe's dad died at 69 the day of this flood. Snakes equals 69. He died on Snake Day. If you look it up, July 16th is Snake Day. Kobe, the Black Mamba, the snake. He was in the supposedly lawsuit with a pharmaceutical company when he died over them wrongfully using his Black Mamba branding. And it's funny how that story's morphed into all kinds of just conspiracy nonsense crap, because nobody actually read the story. They just heard through the grapevine too many tales. And then we're just regurgitating something totally crazy, like, yeah, Kobe was on the verge of solving COVID. Oh my God. Seriously? What's the other 69? Well, there's a lot of 69s, really. Catholic Church, 69. It's all going. And think about it. The Catholic Church developed the technology to make floods happen when they know they have a religion, a flock of sheep out there where they can literally orchestrate miracles. You know what I mean? The wrong kind of miracles, but just feel like, man, revelation, I see it. These people wrote Revelation. These people had a vision, and they've been fulfilling it since the time of Babylon. But anyway, again, Justin Trudeau's the magic age of 52, the flood number, when this crazy flooding happens in Toronto on the day leaving 168 days left in the year, corresponding with his name. And there really is more we could get into at the 168, but I'm going to keep it there for now. Again, 52 is really the thing that we always teach about with flooding. And then look at this. From I like how Google updated their main photo of Drake where he's having a Lakers jersey on in light of what's going on with, again, Kobe's dad dying the same day and Drake being used in rigged NBA rituals, of course, like Kobe. But from Drake's last birthday to the flood was 266 days. The Jesuit motto, Isus hominum salvator, equals 266. Pope Francis is the first Jesuit pope, the 266th. Remember when he spoke in D.C., the Jesuit stronghold, he spoke there on the 266th day of the year, September 23rd, 2015. That day can be written 23/9, like 239, which is the 52nd prime. And again, Pope's 52. And Trump in 2017, his ritual on that day is what gave away the Super Bowl that year, Super Bowl 52, why we said that day it was going to be Phillies versus Patriots. He took on the protesters of the flag sewn in Philly at 239 Arch Street. Trump took office while the flag was 239 years old and has the same birthday as the flag. Again, these numbers, they can come together in patterns that are powerful, from one that's about a nation and its history and its construction to a damaging act of weather. And again, there's a reason that they've chosen these numbers. And I still can't tell you every last thing. I'm an outsider looking in, researching as much as I can and working at this every day to prove as far as I can what's up. But at the end of the day, I still don't, that master evil occultist that is the real scripter of these things. I still don't know everything he knows about 52. I mean, I recognize it's big to him. Kabbalah 52, Gematria 52. Look up that movie, The Golem. It equals 52. It's about how somebody unleashes the knowledge of Kabbalah to fight an enemy, but it turns back against them. It's like they unleashed an evil they shouldn't have messed with. But yeah, Genesis. By the way, Genesis 6:9, again, where the flood begins. Like the Jesuit order, like New World Order, Catholic Church is 69, Roman Catholic, New World Order, Illuminati. Again, the Illuminati was founded by the Jesuit Adam Weishaupt. Again, Illuminati also equals 120 in the base ciphers, like in the Bible, man's not to live past age 120. A lot of these Illuminati types do live a lot older than most people. Run it in reverse, Illuminati's 150, like the sun's 150 million kilometers away on average, the thing that illuminates the world, but also how the flood ends after 150 days. And again, that finals that Drake was all synced up with, the Toronto one, over the Bay Area in California, where Jesuit Gavin Newsom is, a man with the big 52 connection. But all these things synced. Okay. Sorry, I didn't finish the sentence with the NBA championship. From the NBA championship that Toronto won to this flood happened in the 266th week since that championship. 266 days after Drake's birthday. I can't think of his name right in front of my face. Again, we talk about this number all the time with the Jesuits. Isus hominum salvator. If you run the alphabetic order the other way, instead of Isus hominum salvator equaling 266, that's what's in their logo, it equals 274. Like how the Catholic Church began celebrating the sun in the sky's birthday in 274 AD on 1225. Okay, the 266 days is 38 weeks. It's Ontario that's flooded, right? Ontario's got the Gematria 38. We always talk about crazy rituals with rappers in 38. 38 weeks after the rapper's birthday. And I don't follow Drake carefully enough. He might have some songs or some lyrics that even shed more light on this, and I'm sure people will leave those comments in due time. But rapper has the Gematria 38, like energy, like English, like Gematria, like Kabbalah. Run these words the other way, they're both 52. Jew, technically, again, all this is based in the Old Testament, the Jewish section of the Bible. Drake is technically Jewish. Prophecy's got that 38 connection. The prophecy of the flood, the story of Noah, Genesis 6:9. You see how it was the 41st game for the Raptors and the 41st game for the Lakers, where Kobe scored 81 and the rest of his team scored 41. And again, Kobe Bryant equals 41. And then he ends up dying on the 41st day of the Pope's age while traveling from Catholic Mass. When again, he's the first Jesuit Pope, and the suppression of the Jesuits lasted for 41 years. And the United States of America was formed in that time. And USA equals 41 like LA does. And that's the 13th prime, going with the 13 stripes and Gianna Bryant at age 13. But, yeah, this was Kobe's 666th game. 666. He scored 81. Kobe Bean Bryant equals 81. Mark of the Beast equals 81. Satanic stuff. The word satanic's 122. Satanic the other way is 67. This flood was on a 67 date numerology. Remember, the Church of Satan was founded in San Francisco, which equals 122 on the 122nd Meridian West, and it's named after St. Francis of Assisi, like Pope Francis. They make it seem like St. Francis of Assisi was the greatest guy there ever was, but again, the victors write the history book, and history's made people celebrate a lot of people who probably were not worth celebrating. Right now, they're making it seem like the greatest moment in U.S. history is Donald Trump escaping assassination. What a miracle. But we know it's paying tribute to Revelation 13:3 in the beast. 133 days from the anniversary of JFK's assassination. President, White House, government, all 133. Revelation 13:3 about the beast who gets injured in the head but survives. Beast equals 47 like Trump. On and on. Look at this. With regards to Kendrick Lamar being named Duckworth, his last name, and a Drake being a duck, land and water, Drake's house on land underwater. The recent rap beef with Drake, I mean, that's what this story is about, right? How bad of a summer Drake's having because he got beat in the rap beef. Everyone ruled that Kendrick Lamar beat him in the battle. He lost the rap war. Now his house is underwater, right? And what were we saying with the whole rap battle? We were pointing out that all the dates that it came out on, just how obviously Jesuit it was. Again, it was all in tribute to Tupac and his history with Machiavelli and how that album was put out after his death by the numbers on Guy Fawkes Day, the day the Jesuits tried to blow up British Parliament with. Again, I don't know where anyone's argument is that it's not the Jesuits doing all this. Like anyone who wants to come and say it's just Jews and just blame Jews, you're going to lose the argument all day. Let's have that debate. There's a million people in the world everywhere arguing right now that Jews did this and Jews did that. Okay, yeah, I'm not going to deny that a lot of these people are Jewish, but what I'm saying is when you blame just Jews and Jew, you're blaming a whole group of people, and a lot of them have nothing to do with any of this. You get specific, and it's not like you can blame all Jesuits either. I understand there's a lot of people who are Jesuit educated who are perfectly fine people. But it's like you need to specify what order is doing this. Okay, Jews in what order are doing this? Are there other people in other religions in that order as well? Yes, there are. It is a religious order that's doing this. But you can't blame all Catholics either. You have to be specific. It's these Jesuit Illuminati types. Again, the Illuminati was founded by a Jesuit who are in high places. And sure, Trudeau and Gavin Newsom and Trump and Biden, all these people are to blame, but they're on puppet strings and there's layers and much more powerful people than them. You're only going to roll back these curtains really if people start pushing the right buttons in the right places. And I know we've been doing that for a long time, which is why we've been so censored and destroyed by big tech and algorithm and media trying to slander and all this. Nonstop troll videos and harassment. Again, that Wikipedia, I forget what it's called. If you look up my name, you'll find the page. It's like a Wikipedia, but attacking people who go against mainstream narratives. So you have a big long write-up on the David Ikes and the Alex Joneses. And again, these guys are controlled opposition too. David Icke came from the world of TV. And no, Alex Jones is not Bill Hicks. That's another thing up there. It's just all of you guys who think that, look at when they were both alive at the same time and compare them and tell me they look like the same person when they were both alive at the same time. Not to mention Bill Hicks is a lot taller. Different build, different voice, taller, more slender. Alex Jones, short and stout. And again, can't you see what they do in Hollywood? Well, why do they need to go to such great lengths to make Bill Hicks into Alex Jones? You guys just waste your time on the dumbest things that don't even make sense. What we do over here is not wasting time. We're documenting something undeniable that most people are too dumb to grasp, and that's why they'd rather spend their time on, it's easier for me to think about how my street looks pretty flat and like it looked like that plane flew by and it looked pretty flat, so I think it's just all flat. It's like, dude, that's not anything. That's a waste of a fucking life. Use your mind and do something productive that's helpful like this, which this is. The reason this hasn't been successful is not the fault of what I've been doing for over a decade. It'll be 11 years next month documenting this shit and what's going on. The fault, well, maybe I could have done a nicer job and appealed to more people, but I've done more than a sufficient enough job that way more people should be invested, caring, spreading this, and getting people to care. And we can't just give up on the attitude of like, trust me, I've known since I was 18 how closed-minded people are and how taken they are by the screens and the authorities and how beholden they are to them. I've known all this for a long time, but I've still been able to wake up people, so I know it can be done too. And really, people have to wake up on their own, but I've helped wake up a lot of people. I've been doing that for a long time, since way before I learned gematria. Got a lot of people to think differently about things, from the way things are. It's hard, but to the way the food system is and what we do to ourselves and don't even think about it because we're part of this culture that's been lying to us since the time we were children, getting us to believe in nothing but nonsense, false history, false spiritual teachings, making you succumb to religion instead of just being like spiritual and understanding there's a creator that brought this thing about. And just naturally, he gave us a system inside of our body that lets us give a real feeling how we know when we really did. I mean, people might lie to save their ass, but inside there's a part of them that feels bad. That's not what they want to have to be doing. You do something nice for something. You help out a stranger. See the smile it brings to their face. The thank you get back, or the nice thing. That's like the heartwarming thing. That's like the human thing. They move people away from all that. They've turned us all into a bunch of consumer bots, idol worshipers, entertainment junkies, fast food junkies, junk food junkies. I need another Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, Vince Carter, Tracy McGrady, Michael Jordan, Dominique Wilkins, all the way back further than that, Slam Dunk. I needed to watch another one. Where's it all? I need highlights of it again. Just like their minds is. I don't even know how I got on this. Anyway, I'm so tangential, but here, let's come back to this. The beef with Drake and Kendrick Lamar. Notice his house. It says his house is in this exclusive Bridle Path neighborhood, luxury homes. Bridle Path has gematria in 95. Remember, the Jesuits were created to counter the 95 Theses, recognized by Rome on September 27th, 1540, the day leaving 95 days left near. Funny enough, Martin Luther pinned the 95 Theses on the day that we call Halloween now, October 31st, and Halloween has that gematria 95. But Tuesday is the only day of the week that has 95. And I've said many times that there's been a lot of 95 rituals on Tuesdays. And anyway, this beef with Drake, which means duck, and Duckworth or Kendrick Lamar, Drake's first entry in the beef was April 13th. And notice, from that day to the house flooding, 95 days. What's this article about right here? How he got beat in the rap battle, and now his nice luxury house is all full of mud water. Got to worry about the mold and all this. You don't want water in your house. But again, that's a starting point. Remember, Event 201 was the day the military World Games began in Wuhan, China, and they began in 95 and were started with they started in Italy with the Jesuit sponsorship. They call his house the Embassy, right? So this rap beef officially started a little before that, March 22nd. They say Kendrick Lamar fired the first shot on 322. And remember, ancient mystery religions is 322. Abrahamic religions is 322. Genesis 322 mentions the Kabbalistic tree of life. The Abrahamic religions are based in Genesis. 322, just a large and in charge number. That the date on the Georgia Guidestones. I've said for years, what are the ways they can destroy us? Like they've put in stone on the Georgia Guidestones on March 22nd, 1980. We've said for years. I mean, crazy war, plague, disease, unleashing what they've been doing at Walter Reed for the last 100 years, or crazy weather warfare, or a combination of all of it. And again, that's the thing people need to understand. Sadly, we live in a world where these people have the capability and technology to unleash madness on humanity. And if we're so afraid of unleashing that madness as something they might do as a consequence if we rebelled, what does that really say at us at the end? It says we're going to allow all of the fears and their capability to make us submit, and we will be their slaves. And pretty much that's what everyone says almost every day as they march off to work and turn off this video because they got to get back to their slave grind, and has never really pounded an ounce of payment to help share this anywhere, but's been taking it in for years. But being on the slave grind, at the end of the day, a lot of people just, again, they submit to the slavery. And, I'm going to be honest, I'm not all the way out of the slave ship either. None of us are. But the point I'm making is I understand we're all on the slave ship. And if we do want to keep a roof over our head and food on our plate, you got to kind of submit. But if there's a balance of people doing the slave grind and also getting out truth and what we need to change, then that creates maybe a place where people can actually converse about things and understand and start making alternative plans and saying, oh, well, listen, if we're going to shut this corrupt system down, how are we going to survive with, imagine food supplies down. Again, that's why the conversation just has to happen so people find the solution. If they realize they have to get away from the system, if it can't be a bloody revolution all at once, it has to be people slowly just not submitting to the system, giving up the slave grind, turning their life to agriculture in their community. I mean, really, I've always said that, you guys. There's enough material shit in this world for a ton of generations. There's enough here that our grandchildren will probably. But what we don't have is good, clean food and water. And those are things that if we made lifestyle changes, we could fix that. I mean, those are things we really need. And our ancestors didn't need some slave master to have them do that. That was just what the world provided. So in a way, it's like that balance has to. And you know what else, as I'm saying this, I kind of feel like that's in a way what the Illuminati is also trying to do, but just doing it in a very dishonest, like their Georgia Guidestones about how you need to save the world and depopulate the earth to 500 million, which means 1 out of only 16 people surviving today would live. But yeah, it's just the way they go about it with like putting it in stone, putting it in movies, but then never explaining it. And then also at the same time, kind of like having this thing where people like yours truly get attacked for showing what's seemingly unfolding. Anyway, coming back. Drake calls his house the embassy. I just want you to see how it's 117-36 like Toronto is. And look, from the start of the rap beef with Duckworth to this is 117 days. Isn't that funny? His house that he calls the embassy's underwater on the 117th day since the battle began, that he's currently losing the war. I mean, we don't assume it's over. We assume there's going to be more down the road. But now here's the media. The media is telling you what a bad summer Drake had. And what was I telling you when the whole rap battle thing? It was all by the numbers. Jesuit fingerprints all over. Now where am I? Now it's Drake's house is flooded, and they're connecting it to that. And it's the same code we've always talked about with floods in 52, perfectly synced with the Jesuit Trudeau. I mean, the Canadian guy yesterday, what he was saying when he cut me off, he's like, you just like always find some different person to connect it to, and the numbers can be connected to like, that's the way numbers are. It's like, I just hate listening to this shit. I've heard so many. How often has Justin Trudeau been 52 years old? It isn't like, while he's 52, we're talking about the craziest act of weather warfare in terms of flooding in Toronto. I mean, and it's perfectly synced with his name. What do you mean too many names? Who else are we going to connect it to other than your Jesuit leader up there? And you're another guy just like talking to me like, what do you think? And I don't know why he always calls the word gematria. He keeps doing that, gematria. Zachary K. Hubbard, gematria. And I keep telling him like off there, I'm like, it's actually pronounced gematria, and I say it wrong because I say gematria, like gem. But really, that's still the way I think. Finding this knowledge was a gem because it really does expose what's going on. But every time that guy's gematria, why the hell does he keep adding an M in the word? And seriously, how do you turn on this knowledge more than you ever have on the day that Canada's underwater by the thing we've been talking about? That just shows what a sellout you are to everything. Anybody who looks to you and thinks you're about anything, again, you guys pull the wool off your eyes. Like I've been telling you for years, all the big channels who've taken shots at me, which has been a lot of people over the years and have never said anything positive about this work, but have tried to slander it and undermine it. None of you guys should take their word for anything. These are bad people who do not have eyes to see, who've never brought anything, literally, like most of these big channels have never brought anything meaningful to their audience. They're here to entertain them, send them in the wrong direction. Shit I've been teaching, man. Undeniable. Again, in 2020, did we not circle every 52-date numerology and watch a hurricane land on every single date? 7 of the 8 dates. The only one that it didn't land on was the day that a hurricane formed instead. I mean, that was in 2020, after 3 years after the Vice News article, further years since teaching about this, all the things between now and then, and here we are today. It makes me sick that there's people like Jesse. Gematria. Yeah, you can just make the numbers just line up, and that's 1 times 1 is 2. I mean, that math's not true. 1 times 1 is 2. Remember how I'd take little Jesse's hand in that interview? I said, no, if you pay somebody $1 one time, which is what 1 times 1 means, did you pay him $2? And even then he was like, no, you paid him 1. I said, okay. If we did $1 2 times, 1 times 2, how much would I pay you? He's like, $2. I'm like, oh, see how simple that was? For all of you guys who think the earth is flat, if you guys had a little bit bigger brains, it'd be that easy to walk you away from the flat earth theory too. Because it's that simple to understand that the earth isn't flat either. Just like how 1 times 1 isn't 2, the earth isn't flat. These are things Jesse both thinks are more important than what I'm teaching. A Canadian who talked shit about this work yesterday when it should be spread all over Canada. You're bringing in all these shills. For some reason, all the shills work with you. All the people who got famous during COVID, putting out all their bullshit, venom virus, 5G is going to kill you, all the bullshit. All the people who got all the viral views in COVID who didn't do shit. Had we been the most viral thing, we would have saved the world. Yeah, and that is true, because we were out there in front of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, March 13th, 2020, laying it down that day, what Bill Gates had said a decade earlier, how it was perfectly synced with him and Melinda, the virus arriving for the first case outside of China in his backyard. We had it all laid out and seen right as the whole thing was going down. You know, I had a book out a few months later saying why they're going to wind their bullshit pandemic down as soon as the year of the tiger comes around. Exactly what they did. All by that Jesuit cabal code that fits right in here with this. You know? Again, I asked that little chump yesterday. I said, who did that, Jesse? Whose work did that and was that accurate? And again, we were here the whole time through COVID calling everything before it happened. Not to mention we haven't been doing that with damn near everything else the whole time. Shout out to everybody who hit on the 13.5-point underdog Chicago Sky yesterday, picking up their 10th win over the Aces for the big payout. Aces 10. Morons like, oh, well, I mean, that could just be a coincidence. See how many times we pick out the big dog. We just look at the pack, give it a scan. We say, there's the big potential payout with the strong narrative that's going to hit at a high enough percentage time that you're going to continue to make a profit. You might miss some of those big upsets, but again, we've been doing this for years because the whole damn game's rigged this way. Over and over. All right, moving on. Look at this. Look at this headline right here from NBC about how 167,000 people are out without power. 167,000, right? The storm hit on 16/7, like 167, the 39th prime number. Drake 39, right? Drake's got the 39 connection. The word duck, a Drake is a duck. Duck has the 39 connection. You run it in reverse, it's 69. Again, Kobe's dead at 69. Matters because Kobe had the career high against Toronto. The 6, again, in his 666 game, Toronto, we saw, had that 36 connection. That has a square root of 6. 666 is the 36 triangular number. But again, Kobe's dead at 69. 69 big in Genesis, where the flood is. Big with the Gematria code, with the Catholic Church, the Jesuits, and the weather control. Drake's song, Push-Ups, also equals 69. And again, from that song coming out to his home on Bridle Path being flooded on a Tuesday when the Jesuits' original mission was to stop the 95 Theses. Over and over, same stuff. 95th day since the song. Isn't that wild? And we were saying back then, the way these songs are just coming out left and right, that was obviously all pre-recorded and just coming out by a code. Look at Canadian TV's 38-second story about the flooding near Drake's home. Can it happen exactly 38 weeks after Drake's birthday? 266 days. We call 38 the rapper number. Just so many death rituals with rappers in 38, but fits in with Ontario. Again, I guess the mystical part of why they do it, just the energy, the vibration, Hermeticism speaks to the vibrations, Kabbalah speaks to the letters and numbers. But yeah, Hurricane Beryl started wrecking the U.S. by the number 7-8, formed in the 78 ritual, and then ends up at Aubrey Drake Graham's house. And it's crazy, too, how it's just like it happened 3 days after the ritual with Trump, which had the same number code on it, 159 and 78. Again, right after the Secret Service's 159th birthday, 78 days after Melania's birthday, when Stormy Daniels equals 78 and Trump just turned 78 and Donald Trump also equals 159. And again, 78 cards in the tarot deck. And yeah, one more time, the year the Raptors beat the Warriors out in the Bay Area. This makes me wonder, could this be the next path of the story? But they've already been doing a bunch of stuff with the weather warfare and Gavin Newsom. We've been documenting this for years with California, which is a 52 state. The other year, the Hurricane Hillary on Bill Clinton's birthday in California. I mean, just total jokes, you guys. Bill and Hillary, of course, Jesuit educated, Georgetown. But yeah, Kawhi Leonard, the MVP of those finals, the day that here, look at this. Hold on. Let me make sure I got it right. Kawhi Leonard, Date of birth. June 29th. Drake, Scorpion album release date. They said it broke all the Beatles records. June 29, 2018. That was the day, or Kawhi had just gone to Toronto, and then that album released on Kawhi's birthday, okay? It released on his 27th birthday, to be exact. And it's interesting, that's now 6 years ago, too, as this happens. The 6th. They won it in Game 6. Drake calls Toronto the 6th. But again, from those finals to this flood, 266th week since, 266 days after Drake's birthday. Again, just big Jesuit number. And, I mean, so what we're doing is we're lining up all these angles. Jesuit history, where statements were made with regards to weather control in the Jesuits. You know, anniversary dates. Gematria code. The only people that could possibly be responsible for this. The Jesuits who gave us the calendar and the languages we know it. I mean, there's so many. That's why for people to say that this all coincidence, like, you must just be too dumb to realize how many undeniable angles there are here, especially if you'd realize what we've laid down for more than a decade about the same shit happening over and over. Weather. Again, case in point, let's go back to the 1989 World Series earthquake, where it was between the Bay Area, speaking of Golden State, and what was the last thing shown on TV before it cut to fuzz because of the earthquake that interrupted the World Series. Very serious earthquake in the Bay Area. The last thing shown on TV was number 33, Jose Canseco, a replay of him scoring the game prior. That earthquake was 107 days after his birthday. His full name equals 107, like earthquake equals 107, like military equals 107. They said that earthquake happened exactly at 5:04 p.m. sharp. Baseball equals 54, like 54 ounce in a game. Jesuit order 54. There's more to it as well, but, Hurricane Katrina was all 44. Another big military number, another big HARP number. Not to mention, people said the storm passed and they thought they'd survived it, and all of a sudden there was loud explosions and the floodgates were open. The levee was broken like it was Led Zeppelin. Better move up to Chicago. But yeah, then next thing you know, the Saints are winning Super Bowl 44. Peyton Manning's losing to his dad's team. The Aints back in the Archie Manning days, as Peyton's just lofting nice little lobs to the Saints secondary for some obvious picks. It's like, oh, this is the greatest quarterback of all time, huh? Looked like one of the worst throws quarterback could ever make. Two slow, unathletic guys were the face of the league. Everyone thought they were the greatest of all time with their rivalry. And then old Peyton, with the wounded Ducks, overcomes Tom Brady, who won the most Super Bowls, but couldn't beat Eli Manning. Oh, God. And people don't see that. I mean, that's why we're fucked, you guys, because people can't even see through that. They can't see that after 9. I mean, how did know? All right, 9/11, most obvious lie ever. I was 18. My brain wasn't even fully developed. I was partially retarded compared to how I am now. It never fooled me for 1 second. Tom Brady and the Patriots after 9/11 and the Patriot Act, you got to be brain dead to not see it. Terry Bradshaw ranting about online conspiracy theories, and even back then, you were trying to watch the NFL Sunday games, and Terry Bradshaw's on at the break talking about some weirdo conspiracy theories about 9/11. It's not American. Got to get behind our country right now and unite. It's like, what's that mean, you bald dumbass? Because you can throw a football? You're a fucking retard. I should listen to you? No. What are we uniting behind? A lie? Oh, yeah, let's unite behind the lie and kill the brown people. Woo, how American. Isn't it, though? Isn't it? I mean, actually, God, that might have been the truest thing I said out of 10,000 plus videos. I mean, that actually does sound like the real American spirit. God bless America. Let's unite to kill some more brown people. Isn't that the whole story actually from the beginning? Look at those godless heathen brown people all around here. Let's get rid of all of them. They don't have Bibles. And that's the original story of Manifest Destiny, right? The whole true story, Paul Revere rode down with a torch and a horse, and the whole East Coast heard him to launch it. Paul Revere just yelling in the middle of the night. Everyone heard him. His story. Now we got the latest in 2024, one of the most iconic photos ever under the 13 stripes on the 13th. 13 weeks from the anniversary of the establishment of the Secret Service. Donald Trump with the Secret Service all around him. He's probably already given a speech about, when the 13 soldiers died on the Jesuit, or actually, Afghanistan's government collapsed on the Jesuit order's birthday after all those wasted years with the needless wars that were all based on lies that we were also to unite behind because Terry Bradshaw said so and every other fucking loser on TV that way too many people trust. It makes me sick that anyone trusts any of these assholes on TV. If you have a brain, you should realize, he's on TV a lot. He's probably just totally full of shit because that's all this thing ever feeds me. Anyway, I got to get off again. I got to do the stream for the sports, and I keep being late for those guys because, there's not a whole lot of sports to do this week. But, hey, man, you can still find some gems like the Chicago Sky last night, 10th win of the season over the Aces 10. Again, big payouts. So that's called a whopper. 13.5-point underdog with a sweet narrative to win. And by the way, I did throw out about 6 scores for the All-Star game yesterday, and one of those was 3-5 could make sense because we knew it was all about the JFK assassination. I did see that was the score of the All-Star game, 3-5, in tribute to JFK, number 35, killed on I-35 when Catholics 35. Beat Richard Nixon 305 days after Nixon's birthday. All right, here, I just got to make sure I got everything in before I wrap it up. There was one more thing. Actually, there might be a couple more things. Kendrick Lamar, interestingly enough, from his birthday to the flood was 29 days later. Prophecy also has the 29 like black, like Enlil, like earth. A lot of those people in the Old Testament, you read the book of Enoch, seem to be looking a lot more like Kendrick Lamar rather than Richard Simmons. And we know they just did Richard Simmons. They just did Richard Simmons dirty by the code that they normally do black men by. And again, Richard Simmons had one of those Jew fros. And again, he's from New Orleans, and Milton Simmons, his birth name equals 59, and he's dead before Super Bowl 59. And then they did Jacoby Jones of New Orleans, the last player who had a monster game in the last Super Bowl in New Orleans, just drops dead at 40 right before the Super Bowl's in his city on the 40th day of the year coming up. Yeah, I guess I got it all in here. Again. Oh, yeah, that's right. You had the Curry brothers on the Blazers and Warriors that year, and the mom was there all proud back before the divorce. His dad used to play in Toronto, Steph Curry. Steph Curry met his wife through Toronto. All one big family, all one big script, paying tribute to history in the past. He didn't start at the bottom. That's not how he got to where he thought he was at the top. He never been at the top, Drake. To anybody who grew up in a much better era, you're a nobody. He is, you guys. I'm sorry. Drake's a nobody. I don't care what any of you guys from your younger generation think. Drake hasn't said anything interesting ever. And part of the reason why is because there were so many people who came before him that were just so much better and pioneered and just had meaningful things to say that were worth listening to. Tell me a Drake verse that's worth listening to. His whole career is bragging about himself. Why do I want to buy a record and listen to a man brag about himself? That's what I mean with this like society that's just fucking retarded. Listen to everything that is shit news, shit music, shit people. Why? Why do you want to listen to people Again, if you're a rapper who brings a message that could inspire somebody and make them a better person, I'm talking about like Arrested Development. I'm talking about like a lot of rappers. Eric B. and Rakim. Andre 3000. Like, where does Drake even compare? These guys are rapping about being in the top 3. Neither of you in the top 3. Kendrick Lamar, he threw a woman off a radio tower for his career. Drake's had plenty of deaths connected to him. Both these people are bad people, and they're nowhere near the top 3. Probably not even in the top 3,000. We got better rappers in our community than either of these guys. Have you heard some of the rappers in our community? There's so many good rappers. There's so many people that have learned to rap and are good at rapping and have a great message. These people that you worship suck. Drake is trash. He's chosen to be on the world stage. That's why all these rituals line up perfect. That's how they can flood Toronto perfectly, sync with this guy, sync up an NBA Finals with him. These people don't belong on the world stage. Imagine if like we had a society where people weren't scared to go outside for all the million reasons they've been made afraid. Amber alerts, cooties virus, supposedly killers and school shooters and mall shooters and all this shit everywhere. And we weren't living in the Netflix era. Imagine if people still went out, got to learn their own town. You probably would have heard a million better rappers in your own town at this day and age. Last time I was down, a year ago, I was at the Seattle All-Star game educating on the street. And we're walking by, and, I'm guessing they were three siblings. One of them for sure was the little sibling, but there were three guys out rapping on the street. And we just kind of stayed there listening for a second. And then the little one went. And oh my God, the other two were way older than him. They're probably at least 5, 6, 7 years older than him. But see, when you're the little one, you want to catch. I had that advantage too, because I had a 12-year older sister and she was always around a lot older people. It can be very advantageous when you got older people around you when you're young. Man, this little kid started rapping. He was amazing. Nobody's ever even heard of him. Who are you talking about? Exactly. That's what I mean. But you know about this guy who never said nothing. Okay, he might be clever at phrasing rhymes about how great he is. Talking about the same shit as everybody else. Who cares? Have a message that means something. See, that's what happens. You have this empty, soulless society. They'll listen to these empty, soulless people talk about nothing. That's why the world's got to change. That's why people are so bad. Because they're idolizing shitty people. Drake, Kardashians, all these athletes. Most of these athletes, man, anytime they get... Actually, I won't even say that, but just so many of these athletes are a joke, too. I'm not getting paid enough. $50 million is not enough this year, for the 16 games. They're not even really getting paid that anyway. It's all part of the show. But, all right, I got to wrap it up. We'll be over on the Patreon. Thank you again to everyone who hits the like and the share. C Free, thank you. I heard about that, the drill they did there. If you live in that city, don't trip out too hard. They do drills like that. It's like they did Top Off 4 up in Portland, which was like the biggest nuclear disaster drill in the history of the world. I want to say around 2014. And it doesn't mean... I was pointing out back then, I was like, isn't it funny that Portland's nickname is RIP City, like RIP City, like it's dead and they're doing the biggest... There was a lot to it, but yeah, I mean, sometimes we see the drills and then things come right after, but I will look into it. It's just, if you're there, don't let it make you too paranoid. Portland's still here a decade after Top Off 4. Ava Moon says, what is the relevance of 5 as this is what the Biden camp is pushing people to donate to their joke campaign? Well, again, remember, numbers don't have any one singular meaning, but we know that this thing they just did with Trump has the mega all over it. Again, mega is the highest degree of the Church of Satan, and the symbol for Satan is a downwards pointing 5-pointed star, a downwards pointing pentagram. And it's just like how the GOP in 2000 adjusted their logo. Before, the stars were pointing upwards, but after 2000, the year that Bush became president-elect, the second one, the stars were pointing downwards like a satanic symbol. And not long before that, Reagan was running on MAGA, the highest degree of the Church of Satan. Trump's doing the same thing now. Funny enough, Ronald Reagan equals 214, just like Church of Satan. Just like all the 214 stuff they've been doing with Trump, including this shooting scare 214 days after Pennsylvania state birthday, and paralleled to what happened in Dallas, where JFK died in the 214 area code at Parkland. And again, Parkland, the shooting was on February 14th, 214, the 45th day of the year, like he's number 45, like how the shooting of Trump was, or supposed shooting was 45 days after Kennedy's birthday. And again, RFK Jr. officially got in the race when he filed his paperwork on 4/5, April 5th, which we've been talking about since then, and how it foreshadowed an assassination story on this campaign trail, if not more than one, because 1968 had MLK and RFK. So again, we've been on top of it, and true to form, we've been super underappreciated for everything we've been exposing and on top of like nobody else. But thank you to those who are here and who do appreciate it. So yeah, there could be more to 5. Again, you got a 555-foot tall Washington Monument. You got a 5-sided Pentagon with 5 floors above ground with a 5-acre court in the middle. Again, the word new, as in like New World Order, as in like New Testament, as in like New World, which they call the Americas. Again, all these things kind of happen in the same time. The numbered Bibles, the English, the calendar, this country, the New World Order, presidents uttering New World Order. But N, E, and W, the words in new, N is the 14th letter, E is the 5th, W is the 23rd. So that means N, E, and W are technically all 5 in numerology because N is 14. What's the numerology of 14? 1 plus 4 is 5. E is 5. W, the 23rd letter, 2 plus 3 is 5. 5, 5, 5. A big dick in a nation that's up everyone's ass. 555 feet tall. I mean, I don't know how far it goes. Osiris cut into 14 pieces. That's 5. Some people say that's Osiris's dick. So remember I was making the point the day Chadwick Boseman died on the makeshift Jackie Robinson Day. It was on the anniversary of MLK speech, and they had like a picture of a bunch of black men together, and the Washington Monument was up behind them, like just looking huge. And I was making the joke that day. I still remember I was in a funny mood that day. I can't do it like I did that day, but I remember I had people rolling, but I was just making the jokes about it. Sometimes I think that's what it's all about with this just total like racism and hatred towards black people and just like doing these brutal rituals of killing a black man. I mean, you know, a lot of black guys are very well endowed. It might have created some jealousy somewhere along the world. I feel bad for black guys that aren't well endowed, but yeah, it didn't seem like an accident because we were looking at all those things in the same news cycle. That photo, them talking about MLK, Chadwick Boseman's death. Again, a lot of people think that statue does have to do with Osiris. So, anyway, it's probably not the answer you were expecting for 5, but most of those guys are a lot bigger than 5 inches. You know what I mean? So, let's go out to BPST3, the third super chat for 333. How perfect. He said, Trump media stock soars 33% after his skit. Oh, man, you got to love it. You got to love it. So, all right. Anyway, I do got to do the stream on Patreon. If you missed the work earlier this year on Dubai, you can come back and check that out. It had the prophecy code all synced with the Pope, Superior General, like what else is new? And biggest flood in 75 years, keeping records by a long shot. Again, our Lyndon Johnson, whose name's coming up a lot right now, gave his speech at Holy Cross Jesuit University 201 days after JFK died, talking about who controls the weather, controls the world. It's like, okay, so to ask if they followed up on who controls the weather, controls the world, that makes me a conspiracy theorist. I mean, it was in 1952. Even before that, they'd already admitted to it. Think you're it's like people think their ignorance is like a shield from what's going on in this world. They don't know about it, and they didn't learn about it in slave school, and their favorite talking head on TV hasn't said nothing about it, so it doesn't matter to them. It's like my sister's argument in a nutshell. That's pretty much exactly it. If it was real, Zach, she said that. They would have taught us about it in school if it was real, Zach. Like, it's that, oh my God, you're under such a spell. She believes in all the authority so much. She believes so much in the religious authority, the government authority. It's like, oh my God, you can't see that they're just manipulating your ass and taking advantage of you? Oh my God. Yeah, again, this is a real headline from the New York Times right here. It's funny, they took down my post on my original website about this, and there was nothing wrong with it, just all documentation. You know, New World Order pledged to Jews on the 75 date numerology. Things get crazy while Israel's age 75, as we predicted before it happened with the war in 2023, which we saw coming a mile away the day Netanyahu came back. But yeah, it was all prophecy code. 10-6 on the 52. Anyway, it's just like the flooding in Dubai earlier this year was on the 106th day of the year. Prophecy code. Prophecy has that 10652. Flood goes with the 52, like Book of the Law, where the story of the flood is in the prophecy. Again, they encoded our language. They synced it up with the calendar. They're performing high rituals over and over. They, as the Jesuits, look into it. There's a historically verifiable trail. And so anyway, we'll leave it there, True Seeker. Thank you again to everyone who hits the like and the share. And until next time.